Hey guys, how are you? In this lesson, we're going to talk about two main principles that will make your chord transitions, changing chords, much simpler to achieve. Now, the first one we're going to be talking about throughout this course is going to be the idea of holding the shape. The second one is going to be using your fingers as a feeler gauge. All right, these are two really critical points that a lot of inexperienced guitarists miss when they first start doing this, and they think it's too easy. They put the idea of chord progressions and playing songs into too difficult basket, and they kind of give up on it. But today I'm going to show you ways that you can really help to achieve this in a much simpler fashion, a lot faster. All right, so let's take a look at example 1 now. And we're going to hold this E minor shape down. And you can look at the diagram above me as well. We'll give you the shape as well as in the article. And I'm using fingers 2 and 3 here. You can use 1 and 2 for this example. It really doesn't matter. But we're going to change to the A sus2. And to do that, what we need to do is just simply take our fingers. They're touching. Notice that, real important. These fingers are touching. We're going to move them down. So we're from the 5th and 4th string, we're going to move them to the 4th and 3rd string, just like this. E minor, A sus2, or suspended 2, and then back to E minor again. But notice how I keep them touching, like they're one fat finger. And when I move them, they hold their shape. Okay, they're very close to the strings as I do this. I don't move them way out here. I don't pick them up and try to reposition my fingers, okay? You need to keep them together so you can move them together and make it real efficient for yourself, okay? All right, example 2, we're going to reconfigure the shape now. Use the first finger on the 5th string and the second finger on the 4th string. All right, so we have E minor again, and this time we're going to move to a C major 7. Now here what we're going to use is the feeler gauge concept, and we're going to take our 3rd finger. See how it's already touching the 2nd finger? That's real important, because what you're going to do is you're going to use that as a gauge to direct your 3rd finger down for the C major 7. Now for this chord you can leave your 1st finger down, you can pick it up, it's up to you. If you're moving to a different chord you may need to pick it up. But the main thing I want to get across here is that you're going to keep your 3rd finger against your 2nd. Okay, and then as you switch, you're going to just use your 2nd finger to guide that 3rd into place so it's more accurate, and you'll be much more confident about achieving that C major 7 sound. Now I'm going to guide it in. Okay, and they're still touching at the knuckles. They're still touching. Those fingers are still touching. You don't want to spread them out like this, if you can see that. Right? You don't want to do that, because now you make it that much more difficult now to move to the next shape. Because I guarantee you're going to be using your fingers to guide along each other, right, or to glide, and you're also going to somehow maintain a shape, okay, or at the very least, you're going to be using your fingers to glide along each other, use them as a feeler gauge to get to the next chord, okay, and it's kind of by association that you get to that chord because you can feel your fingers, okay, so I'm hoping this is making sense. It makes things a lot easier, okay. Now the next thing we're going to do, the next change, is E minor to A minor. All right. So for this, we're going to be using both methods here, holding the shape as well as the feeler gauge. So we have the E minor again, using 2 and 3, and now what we're going to do is hold that shape and bring them down, just like we did example 1 for the A sus2. But we're also going to use the 2nd finger as a feeler gauge. We're going to glide the 1st finger along and put it right down the 2nd string there at the 1st fret. All right, so E minor. Now watch that 1st finger. As I hold the shape, it glides along the 2nd. You see it's very close and tight to the other fingers. When I move back to E minor again, I just lift up. I don't let the 1st finger wander. All right, can't do it. It's going to have a monotone. It's going to go where it wants to go. You want to put it where you want to put it. So keep it close. Guide it into place. Okay. All right. The next change here, the last one for this lesson, is going to be E minor to B7. So what we'll do is we'll take the E minor again using the 2 and 3. Now watch this here. All right. The 2 finger here is going to act as a pivot note between the two chords. Okay. Very much the same way we did with the second finger on the C major 7. That was like a pivot note because you held it down. Well, now we're going to hold down the second finger again. Now what we're going to do now is glide the first finger along the second, drop it on the 4th string. The third finger just drops to the 3rd string, and the pinky comes down the 1st string. Okay? And there it is. Again, look at your article. Look at the diagram above my shoulder. Check out my shape here. You'll see exactly how this works. So I'm going to go slow. E minor. Now here's the B7. Back to E minor. Here's the B7. Now I hope you can see that. My first finger, even though it looks like there's space at the front part where the tips are of the finger, there's no space back here where the knuckles are touching. They're touching at all times because I'm using that again as that feeler gauge. Real important lesson that you need to learn about that, because it's going to help you with the rest of this course and beyond. Any chord change that you need to make, you're going to be able to make it simpler, faster, more efficient using these two concepts.